Over the past 5 years, I've sold over $5 million doing Amazon arbitrage, and that's allowed me to achieve the freedom and flexibility that I have today. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, to take all the lessons I learned over the last 5 years and condensing it in the next 30 minutes. So if you're tired of second guessing or just want a clear path to grow a profitable Amazon business, this may be your turning point. So let's dive right in. Now, most beginners starting out, myself included, get stuck for months trying to figure out what is the best Amazon model to get started with. Now, it comes down to 3 models specifically: private label, wholesale, and arbitrage. Lucky for you, I've done all 3, and I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of each one. The first model you have is wholesale. The pro of wholesale is that it's very scalable. As soon as you have a relationship with a supplier, you are able to build a very consistent, reliable revenue model-based business. Now, there's a portion of our business that does do wholesale, but I would say the biggest con of wholesale is that if you're in a position right now where you're working a 9 to 5, or you have a career, or you're doing something day to day, this isn't going to be the business model for you. And the reason for that is because if you want to get suppliers that are actually worth having, that you're going to make profit from and build a fruitful relationship with for years to come, you're going to have to call them. And you're going to have to make sure you're calling them in the hours of 9 to 5. Right? So if you're working from 9 to 5, there's literally no way you could find a good supplier. On top of that, if you're not working with at least a bare minimum of $50,000, I don't care what anyone else says online, you are not going to find good suppliers. Right? So if you're working with a measly little 5 to 10 grand, no one's going to want to do business with you. In wholesale, distributors work on razor thin margins. So if you go place a PO of 10 grand, what, they make $200 on you? They're not going to want to open up an account for you. They're not going to want to go put the time and effort of doing business with you. So if you're working with that type of capital, you're not going to build any relationships, and you're honestly not going to make that much money. The second model you have on Amazon is private label. Private label is a phenomenal model, especially if you're a marketer, if you've been in e-com before, and if you've ran a paid advertising funnel before. I actually have 2 brands on Amazon right now. We just started a private label business recently, around 12 months ago, and it's been doing quite well for us. The thing with private label though is, like, if you're a beginner and starting out and never have started a business before, it takes a lot of micro skill sets to actually become profitable. So if I started my private label business when I started my entrepreneurial journey, it'd be impossible for me to make an income. And the reason for that is because at the time, I didn't know how to buy media. I did not know how to, optimize a listing and optimize the SEO on a product. And there's a lot of these micro skills, like finding manufacturers and branding a certain product. It's a different type of product research, and not everything is guaranteed, right? So you may buy a SKU, invest 10, 20 grand in a SKU, and the product doesn't sell because you're building a brand. And there's no proven data saying, hey, this product sells, buy this. So it is a bigger risk than doing wholesale or doing arbitrage. It does make money, but you do need these skills. And on top of that, it's going to take at least 12 to 14 months to become profitable. So for our business currently, with the private label side of things, it took us around 9 months to be profitable. And it's me, Jayden, the dude who spent 5 years doing Amazon. And it took me 9 months. So imagine what it would take you. It'd take you a lot longer. And then the last model you have is arbitrage. Now, arbitrage is the best model for beginners starting out. And the only reason I say that is because with arbitrage, you only have to learn one skill set. And that, put simply, is product research. As a arbitrage seller, you could see what products are selling before you actually buy the inventory. So you put yourself in a position where you're not risking capital on inventory that you hope sells. You're just buying and piggybacking off listings that are already selling. And the best part about arbitrage specifically is that with this model, you don't have to run any ads, you don't have to touch any of the products, nor do you have to deal with any of the customers. So it doesn't take these micro skill sets to make money. It doesn't take going to call suppliers to go try to make money. Now, the con of doing arbitrage though is that it's not that scalable, right? So like if you're looking to get to a $5 to $10 million run rate with an Amazon business, then you're probably going to have to pivot into other models like I did very recently. But if your goal is to make like 10, 20, 30K a month, it's pretty easily to pull that with an Amazon arbitrage business model if you have the right frameworks in place. If I was to do it over again, how I would go about starting an Amazon business is I would first start with arbitrage. I would get arbitrage to at least 100 to 200K a month. That's where I scaled my arbitrage business to. And then from there, you could pivot. You could pivot into private label, starting your own brand, which has a higher run rate, or you could pivot into wholesale, which has a higher run rate because you could buy more inventory. So that's how I would go about scaling an Amazon business if we were focusing on, hey, how do we get to 10 figures a year? But if our goal is just to get to like 10, 20K a month, and our goal is to do that as quickly as possible, then it's arbitrage 100%. And now that you know like what business model is the best for a beginner to get started with, it's also important that you know the mindset you have to have coming in this business. You see, with a Amazon business, you are not going to get rich quick. So if your goal is to go make 10K in the next 30 days, this is not the business for you. You're not going to get rich quick. If you're in a position where you're financially struggling, if you're looking for this hidden loophole, this quick way out, well, I got news for you. This isn't the business for you. And you can click off this video right now. But if you're the type of person who's looking to build a long-term asset that compounds year after year, and you're the type of person that doesn't mind delaying gratification and waiting 3 to 6 months to start making money, then this could be a viable option for you. But it's very important to premise that, because if you go into a business with the mindset that I'm going to make money in the next 30 days, you're going to set yourself up for failure. And I don't want that for you. So to give you a realistic expectation of what you could see with an arbitrage business, expect to get your first sales within 30 to 90 days, depending on the input of time you're putting in. I know for all the students who work with me personally, they're able to get their first sales within the first 30, 45 days. But if you did this by yourself, especially when I got started, I just got started watching YouTube videos like this, it's gonna take you a lot longer. And then the next thing you have to focus on, and this goes for any business you start, you have to focus not on the outcome, not on, oh, I wanna make 10K a month. No, you have to focus on just getting 1% better a day. Because if you could put yourself in a position, you're just getting 1% better a day, finding one more product a week, learning one more fact every single day, you're going to put yourself in a better position over the next 6 to 12 months than the guy who focuses on outcomes. So that's one thing I want you to focus on starting out, is just delaying that gratification. And if you did better than yesterday, it was a win. And I think the reason that frame works so well is because with Amazon, it's a flywheel business model. So what I mean by that is that the products you find your first couple months of selling on the platform, dude, these are going to be products that you're going to be selling for the next years to come. Like the products that I'm selling now in my storefront are products we found in 2021, 2022, 2023. So you're going to have that compounding effect. It's just like one of my students, David, as well. David started working with me late 2023, and 2024 was his first full year of selling on Amazon. He did 100K in sales. You know, to the normal person, that sounds like a lot, but for the people who work with me one-on-one, like we try to shoot for higher goals. Anyways, moving into this year, by the end of December, he should finish out around $1 million in sales. The reason he was able to get close to that million and pace for that is just because it's his second year on the platform. And Amazon has that compounding effect, and he always focused on how could I get 1% better a day. And if you're in a position where you want to speed up the process of getting your first sales, of seeing the outcomes you want to see, I'm gonna put a link down below if you want to work with me one-on-one. Now, just to be very transparent with you, I don't accept everyone. And the reason for that is because genuinely I can't. Since I do work with everyone one-on-one, I can only work with a limited amount of people. And this isn't some like urgency tactic, it's just genuine. Anyways, if you want to work with me, or have a chance to work with me, click the link down below. Now let's just get back into the next lesson, because this next lesson that I go over with you is going to be a lesson that will save you tens and thousands of dollars. And that is just make sure you use the right software. Like a lot of people getting started with the Amazon business are very skeptical and want to pinch every single penny and cut as many corners as possible. Software is not the thing you want to cut corners on. And the reason for that is because software tells you whether or not a product is selling. You see, for me, I use 2 softwares to run my Amazon business. The first one's Sellers Amp. I know I'm not sponsored by them. It's just genuinely what I use. And Sellers Amp is pretty much going to tell you whether or not a product is profitable at a certain price. So it'll tell you how many times a listing is selling per month. It'll also tell you how much Amazon fees will be and how much it'll cost to get that product sent directly to Amazon, so you know how much profit you're making per unit before you actually buy a product. And the second one is Keepa. And Keepa just gives you the price action on a product. Now, one thing to note is with a Amazon business, pricing is dynamic, meaning that pricing changes every 15 to 30 minutes on a listing. Now, the reason pricing changes is because pricing on Amazon is based on supply and demand. If a product has more sellers on the listing, generally speaking, the price is going to be a lot lower than if it had less sellers, less competition. So with Keepa, we're able to see the average price action on a product to see whether or not it's worth purchasing. If you're making buying decisions right now on whatever the price on Amazon is, it's inevitable for you to lose money. And that's how I lost money starting out. So don't make that same mistake. And now that you just get a gist of like what software to use, what business model to run, it's also important to go over your thoughts of how you should go about scaling this business. When I started out, I always focused on outcome-based projections. How could I put myself in a position where we hit 10K this month? You know, I hope we hit 10K. I hope we hit 30K. Once I started changing my mindset, this is what unlocked the 6-figure a month potential. And that is, you make money when you buy. You don't make money when you sell. So instead of focusing on these vanity metrics, like how much inventory could I sell this month, you need to be focused on how much inventory I could buy this month. Because the more inventory I buy, the more money I'm gonna make. Like if this month I could go buy $10,000 worth of inventory and I have a potential profit of $6,000 on that, then that's when I made my money, not when I sell it, because this inventory is already selling. We're not spending a penny on marketing, so it doesn't require any effort, any energy to get sales. Therefore, the thing I focus on is buying. And it's because that's your only responsibility to make money on this platform. Once you learn how to find profitable inventory, you could make money. And that just brings me down to like what to actually look for to validate a product to make sure inventory is good to purchase. So I'll take you in my computer and show you exactly what I look for in a product. So here's a product that is pretty profitable on the site. It's a pretty decent product and it's a product that I've sold before. The first thing you want to do when validating products is in Sellers Amp, you're gonna go down to the Offers tab and you're going to only want to compete against FBA sellers. The reason you only want to compete against FBA sellers is because you are an FBA seller, so it doesn't make sense to go compete against another seller that is doing a different strategy as you, right? So I would come here and I would compete with the lowest price. So I'm gonna just click the price right here. So we'd be listing this product at $70 per unit. That's the first thing I wanna check. Now, the second thing is just going to be profit and ROI. I at least want a minimum ROI of 30%, and I want my profit per unit to be around $3 per unit, anything above that. And the reason for that is because I want to make money. You know, I don't want to go invest 100K in inventory and only make 10 back. I want to be able to make 40 on that 100 and flip my inventory fast. And that's the last thing I look for right here is just estimated sales. So you could see in two places, right? Amazon tells me this product's selling 1,000 times a month. And then Sellers Amp tells me this product's selling 1,000 times per month. So based on those two data points, I'm able to assume, you know, that this product's already selling 1,000 times a month, if not more. And that's another thing to premise is that normally whatever Sellers Amp tells you in terms of estimated sales, it's a lot higher than that, right? So if it says it's selling 1,000 times a month, I would assume this product's probably selling like 1,400 times a month. Now, the next thing I look at is I'm going to look at Keepa. So Keepa is going to show us a couple things right here, right? So the first thing this is going to show us is the price action. So we're just going to pull up the buy box right here. We're going to make this chart real simple. And the only thing I want you to focus on is these first two charts. So the first thing I want to premise is this chart down below. As you can see, this is offer count. So this shows us at this specific moment, how many sellers are actually on a said product at that time. Now we can see right now, there are currently 12 sellers on this listing and it's selling for around $70 to $66 a unit. We could zoom out on this product and we could see, you know, back when this product had only 1 to 2 sellers, you see how the price was higher. It was at $95 per unit. So the thing I want to look for here is just like, what is my risk to reward ratio, right? So I look to risk to reward by what was the highest offer count and what was the lowest price within the first 90 days of selling this product. So we could see that the lowest price this product had ever reached was $62 a unit. And this was all the way back in October. So what I would do is I would come to sales price here and I would type in 62 to see my worst case. God forbid, if I had to liquidate this inventory, if shit hit the fan, what am I going to be in this product for at a liquidated price point? So for me, that would be making $9 per unit, 25% ROI. So that risk to reward checks out, because for me, it's like worst case, absolute worst case. If I just wanted to sell through my inventory, which I normally don't do, I just wait. But if I wanted to sell through my inventory completely, at the worst case scenario, I'm making $9 a unit. Best case scenario, I'm making 16, right? So that risk to reward makes sense for me. And those are the three main things I'm going to be checking to make sure that I make the proper buys and I'm not wasting thousands of dollars on inventory that doesn't sell. Now that you know how to buy, what to look for, you're probably wondering, Jayden, how do I make sure that I have enough capital for this? Because you're buying inventory, there's all the software, there's all these expenses. I want to make sure I'm set up properly so I'm able to make a decent amount of money. And the thing is with arbitrage, that's the beauty of it. You don't need $10,000, $20,000 to get started. You only need a couple $1,000s. The most successful students that I work with get started with $5,000 to $8,000 with this business. Now, obviously, we do have to buy inventory. You can't get started with $0. But if you have around 5 to 8K to get started, I would definitely pull the trigger and start taking that first steps forward of getting the Amazon account set up and finding your first products. And the reason for that is because generally speaking, you're going to see around a 40 to 50% return on most of the inventory you buy at that scale, right? So if you have, let's just say, $10,000 to invest or $5,000 to invest, that 5 becomes 8, and then that 8 becomes 12, and then that 12 becomes 18, right? So the gain compounds very quickly, right? Because we're going to be flipping our inventory every 30 to 60 days, just depending on the products we buy. So it's important to get started now instead of waiting for the perfect time, because waiting for the perfect time is actually fear of failure in disguise, right? So if you actually want to make a change and you want to do something and get out of the position you're in, which is why you're watching this video, then it's important just to take the action. Just get started and start compounding quick. But that's generally going to be what you need to get started. And I think, like, looking back on it, right? Because I've been in this space now for 5 years. It's been a half a decade. One of the smartest moves I've made was actually getting a mentor and not trying to figure out everything from YouTube. You see, there's a lot of information on YouTube, and I try to provide as much value as possible and give you all the sauce for free through my YouTube. But the thing is, generally, what I see is when I work with people one-on-one, they just get quicker results because they could ask the question, they could get answers to the questions they have, and they could just have a proven process to follow from someone who already has seen all these failures before. So that's what I did when I got started. You know, I invested in a couple mentors, and that's really what scaled my storefront very quickly within the first 6 months of starting on Amazon. And honestly, that's why I started this mentorship, and this is why I even started helping people, because this is how I got in the space. And ever since I saw how simple this business model was, and how if, you know, a kid under the age of 20 could go make multiple 6 figures of profit from this business, there's no reason an average ordinary adult can't do the same. So I saw that and I'm like, dude, there has to be better teachers out here. And I've just been on a mission to make a bigger impact. Like, I want to be able to genuinely change 10,000 people's lives, just because I know if you put in the input, you put in the work, it's inevitable not to get you to where you want to be. That's why I started this mentorship, Ecom Consulting. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, like, feel free to apply down below. I put an application link where you hop on a call with one of my team. We'll see if you're a good fit, see if we'll be able to help you to get to your goals so you're able to make money as soon as possible with this business. But if you're the type of person who wants to start lean, who just wants to start by yourself and see that proof of concept, we'll move into the next lesson that I had to learn, which was making sure you don't pull your profits out too early, right? You got to understand, as an Amazon business owner, when you're starting out with a limited amount of capital, it's important important that you don't pull that profit out. And I would recommend you to reinvest all your profits for the first 6 to 12 months. And the reason for that is because, like I said, you make money when you buy, you don't make money when you sell. So the more you could buy, the more you could make, right? And I would think about it this way. It's just like the stock market. So if you bought one stock for $100 that annualizes a 10% return a year, you're only gonna make $10 a year. So it doesn't even make sense to invest in that stock. Same with Amazon. Like if you only buy one product for $100, you're going to turn that $100 into $40 profit in 30 to 60 days. That's what you could expect, right? So what are you going to do with $20 a month? You're not going to do much, right? So that's why it's important to keep on reinvesting, because you could turn that, $1,000 into $1,500, that $1,500 into $3,000, that $3,000 into $4,500 in the next 6 months and be cash flowing, right? So understand that you want to delay gratification and you don't want to pull out those profits too early. And as soon as those profits start rolling in for you, the first thing I would acquire is a prep center. Understand, with a prep center, that's how you buy your freedom back. Because you could run this business one of two ways. Either you could be tied down to the inventory, touching it and just having another full-time job, or you could run this business from anywhere in the world and never see the inventory you sell. I would choose to have freedom over another job. So if that's what you want to do, you need to get a prep center set up. Pretty much like what a prep center is going to do is they're going to prep all your inventory before it gets sent out to Amazon. So before you send any inventory to Amazon, you're going to have to either bubble wrap it, put it in a poly bag, or do some sort of prep to the said product for them to check that inventory in for you. And that's exactly what a prep center does. On top of that, I would only recommend getting a prep center set up in Oregon or Delaware, because in these states you pay 0% sales tax. So I'm originally from Florida, in Orlando. Now in Orlando, there's a 6.5% sales tax. So every $100 of inventory I purchase, I'm paying $6.50 in sales tax. Whereas once I got a prep center, not only did I buy back my freedom, but I also saved money, because for me right now, it costs around $1.20 to prep inventory. Every $100 unit I buy, I'm saving almost $5 a unit because I'm not paying sales tax in these states. So it's a win-win. You buy back your time. Not only that, I'm making like $4 to $5 per unit more, which is a no-brainer. And when it comes to finding a verified prep center, like all you got to do is just go on Google, look up verified prep center in Oregon or Delaware, and you'll be able to find a couple good people. There's another site you could go to, which is prepcenter.com. And that's just a marketplace of all the prep centers that are available, what they charge, and what reviews they have. So just make sure you pick one with a good review out of Oregon and Delaware, and you'll be good to go. Now, as soon as you pick up that volume, you get that prep center and you start moving a couple thousand units a month, one thing you really got to focus on is inventory management. And if you don't, you're going to lose thousands of dollars. So understand that Amazon loses more inventory than you think. There's a lot of discrepancies when you're sending in almost 60,000, 70,000 units a year. Don't expect Amazon to have 100% approval rate on like all this inventory checking into the warehouse. There's clearly going to be discrepancies. So it's important that you manage your inventory, not only from the supplier to the prep center, but from the prep center to Amazon. Because when there is a discrepancy on Amazon, and when Amazon is in a position where they lose your inventory, it's your responsibility to get a reimbursement. A good thing is like Amazon reimburses you. You just provide them with an order confirmation or an invoice of the product that you purchased, and they'll reimburse you the amount you paid. But it's important you do that, because Amazon isn't just going to tell you flat right, hey, we owe you money. No, you're going to have to deliberately go out there and check to make sure all your inventory arrived at the fulfillment centers. You want to make sure that you're checking that on a weekly basis, because if not, you'd be losing thousands of dollars in profit. So now that you made it this far in this video, you have now acquired 5 years of Amazon information, all condensed in the last 25 to 30 minutes. So at this point, you either have two steps. Number one, continuing to be in the position of analysis paralysis and go watch other videos without taking action. So if that's you, keep on watching my content. But the main thing you need to focus on is actually making that next step, taking that action, taking that first step forward to focus on getting 1% better a day. Because the only way you're going to put yourself in a position where you make money with this business is if you actually do so and take that step. And that's why I help beginners, because I know taking that first step is scary. I know doing something that is foreign, that is new, is uncomfortable. And that's why I'm here to help people one-on-one. So if you're looking to fast track your results, have someone hold your hand through the process so you're not losing thousands of dollars on inventory like me, click the link below and apply to see if we're gonna be a good fit to work together. I appreciate you watching this video. And if you're serious about really making a change this year, I'll see you in the inside.